you going, Sticks? I was in the neighbourhood, I thought I'd drop by.
G'day Luke, we welcome you here anytime, mate.
Yeah, see what's going on.
Come have a look around, we'll show you what we do here.
A few fittings here,
Yeah,
mate.
so we start off here, we've got pretty much all the fittings that we need to complete an EFI conversion or anything EFI pretty much. So fittings, injectors, fuel lines, rubber hoses, connectors, sensors. We've got everything, to do a pretty comprehensive EFI conversion on a car or race car.
Do you sell pumps, regs, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, fuel pumps, fuel regs, from SAD, Aeromotive, Fuel Lab, Bosch, Waterman mechanical fuel pumps. We've got pretty much everything. So when you come here on a dyno, you run out of fuel, you got a problem with wiring, you got a leak, you come here, it's a one-stop shop, we get everything done. You leave, nowhere else to go. So it's very easy for people to come here and get their job done. So we sell a lot of the RaceWorks components. We do the flow matching for them. We also have our own branded injectors.
All right, so why don't you take us into the workshop and show us some of the toys you've been working on lately.
Let's come in here. So as per usual, we started to get known in this industry for RB30s, not by choice, but we're doing them and we're starting to really love them actually. They're a good sort of deal.
They're still very popular in Australia.
Very popular. They're quite affordable. You can almost run tens for 10 with these things. You get an NA motor, put a 3540 on it, put a computer, turn it up on E85 and away you go. So P-platers love them. This is a basic one, just a 42 on it, Plasmaman gear. CK Auto built this. They brought it here for a dash upgrade, so we can do all the electronics now. So, and that's what we do for a lot of workshops. They'll build the car, they'll get it to a stage where it needs to get wiring and fuel system sorted. It'll come to us and we'll take over, get all the wiring done, computer installed, tuned. We'll set up all the logging, get it all race ready, then it goes back to the shop so they can finish off.
Now this is one Supra I recognise. We've filmed this quite a few times and some of the Supra fanboys aren't happy that there's a V8 in there, mate. Yeah,
this one here gets a bit of grief on the internet, but as we say, any publicity is good publicity, whether it's bad or good. A lot of the guys don't like it because it has got a big block Chevy in it, which is a little bit unconventional. The 2J fanboys are sort of cursing us.
But you bought this, a lot of people don't know, you bought this with the V8 in it.
Yeah, so the original story goes, I bought it without the motor, but then I for the money he offered me the engine for, no way you could run 430s in the 8th mile with a 2J for the little money that I paid for this engine. So I decided to buy the motor, he put it back in the car for us, we got the car back, then we customised the car, we changed the computer and everything else to suit our racing and stuff that we sell. And so we've gone 430, 182 in it, and with fairly small turbos compared to the rest of the field. So we're only on 91 mils.
91s?
Yeah, where everyone else is on 98s and 102s, etc.
So tell us a little bit about the engine. What's the cubic inches?
So we run two different cubes depending on what classes we race. At the moment it's got the 565 crank in it. It's a Century block, which is essentially a Hemi on the bottom, but you can bolt Chevy heads on top. So you get the reliability of the big main bearing and also the quick change bearings at the bottom at the track, which, this sort of power, you're doing that stuff flat out. Could run a conventional Chev heads on it, 10-degree heads, which is more of an aspirated head, but that's why this thing gets up and boogies real good. Fairly high compression, running methanol, 40-pounder boost, Haltech computer on it. Love it. It's just... And
you've been well over 200 in the quarter.
Yeah, back in the day at 3/4 throttle, me crapping my pants, it went 223. So you can imagine how fast it'd go now when running 430s. It'd definitely be like mid-6s and probably close to 230. So because of the radial tyre, America has put a stop to quarter-mile racing because they have had explosions over that speed. So now it's all 8th mile for safety reasons. So who knows, one day.
Now, just so that people don't think you don't like 2Js, you've got...
Well, that's right. So for all those haters out there, we actually started off with a 2JZ. And this is the other car. This is pretty much just as fast. We went real quick in testing the other day, 451. Just pretty easy. The track wasn't the best, very hot day, but we had a couple little issues, electrical gremlins that we're going to sort. We'll be back out. So it's gone 70200. And again, this should have a 680 in the bag. It's all standard front. There's no chrome molly in this car at all at the front.
So is this a three-quarter car?
Genuine three-quarter chassis, car. Pro street car. This class doesn't run anymore because they're all bloody door slammers, but this is full stock front end. Saying that, it is quite heavy, around 2,900 pound. But when you make plenty of power, 60 pounder boost with a 98mm turbo, it doesn't really matter. Yes, it's precision on this. Again, Haltech, 3.2 litre. This is actually the X-ray glass motor.
Yeah.
We're quite close with those boys and they help us along with it.
Have you ever dynoed it on high boost?
So not this motor, our other motor, sister engine to this. On low boost, 46 pounds, it made 1,570 horsepower. But then we had a valve seat failure, so that ended that.
Yep.
We're hoping to get it back on the dyno in the next couple of months, so maybe we get you guys around to do a bit of a video on it.
Hell yeah.
Just bring your protective clothing. So as you can see, what's funny about this car, as I said earlier, we used to run Pro Street, and part of that was to have a passenger seat. So,
that's right, I remember that.
You know, so we've made an intercooler box / passenger seat. It's a little bit dusty in there from Swan Hill, but yeah. It's a class car. We're hoping to the class to revive again, so we're not changing the car. Fingers crossed. It was the fastest import in Pro Street. We're actually number 2 in a field full of V8 twin turbos, so it done very well.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It's very hard to build a class car because unfortunately the classes always change rules.
Yeah, they do, and especially here in Australia, you know, so, and now they make it even harder. They've combined a lot of the radial rules in one class, so until we get the popularity and the numbers up like they do in America.
Would you ever run this on radials?
That's the plan next.
Yeah.
My brother just wants to run a 6 on the big tyre.
Yep.
That way we've got to set up if we want to do some grudge racing and whatever, and then we'll put the radial on it and have some fun.
Now this Merc here looks cool as.
Yeah, so we copped a call the other day about a gentleman known as the V12 man, and yeah, he said, I've got a salt car racer and Mercedes SL600, which is, yeah, it's got a soft spot to me. I like my Mercs. We drive Mercs at home, and we've always had one growing up. The old man's tinkered with them in the shed, and this thing rocked up, and it's a beautiful car. It's running all the Motec dash and stuff like that. M-tron KV16.
Okay.
This particular system's one of the only computers that can do the dual drive-by-wire, 12 injectors, 12 cylinders sequentially, and then still have all your traction controls and everything in there. So a lot of stuff to configure and calibrate, but it's going to be a beautiful beast once it's finished, and hopefully break some records in it.
Has it run before on the Salt?
No, brand new car. It's just been built. Could do with a bit of paint, but the rest is all brand new.
Does he have a goal in mind?
So we want to try and hit 200 mile an hour as it is, which is going to be hard with the power output of the stock motor. Eventually 250, but he is talking about twin turboing this. So we just want to get it all running and cruising and everything sorted for the first event or two, and then we'll be twin turboing it. And that's when we'll be trying to chase over the 250 mile an hour mark.
Merc to the max.
Yeah. It's got a electronic controlled transmission with paddle shifts. It's all Mercedes as well. So as you can see, we've got the transmission computer on the bottom, just below the M-tron over there. Yeah, so it's full control for the transmission. So they'll bring these cars here. It's not only just a tune. We have to calibrate all the transmission channels. We have to set up the dash parameters, all the warnings, all the protections. Every sensor has to be set up correctly. In this sort of environment, you're doing big speeds, you can't afford for anything to go wrong because it goes wrong in a big way.
Yeah.
So yeah, these guys bring it down. We set up, calibrate the whole lot, get it all ready for race day. And then during race day, we're there remotely. We've got all the sensors. We don't have to get the car back for a dyno. We can help them remotely because we've got all the data on board.
So not only sort of oddball, unique cars like this, street cars, drag cars, you also do circuit cars as well?
Yeah, so as you have a look, we've been playing with the Sierras. There's two teams that we help out in the historic races, Sala and the other one's the Exceedant car. Yeah, they've been a real big learning curve for us. Just, you're trying to hold these engines together and we're talking an 80s motor that wasn't really designed to do the things that they were doing back then. The budgets back then were massive. People were throwing engines after qualifying.
Yeah.
So now we're making the same power now with extreme reliability, which is very good. These guys are kicking ass in races.
a lot of people probably don't realise you can't just upgrade all to new tech on those cars.
We're using a 20-year-old ECU. We're using everything old. Everything that car came out with, that's what we have to use.
So still running the old T3 style?
The old T3 style compressor wheel, cast, no billet stuff. You know, and they're making well over 400 and something horsepower at the tyres. We can't disclose the exact figure, but they're strong. You know, minimum 550 at the motor. We can push to around 600, but the reliability does come into effect then. So yeah, we're starting to get heavily involved in circuit. Anything motorsport, we're involved in. We're sort of, unless it's a wild street car or something out of the ordinary. Example, this thing here, conversion, RB25. This has got a Haltech. We pulled an old Haltech Sprint off and put the new Haltech Elite 2000 on this, just to get more control. And
it's a great little conversion, isn't it?
Yeah, very nice package.
It was made to sit in there. You've also got 2 dynos, I see.
Yeah, so we got the roller dyno. Even though we pioneered the hub dyno heavily, there were some cars that we struggled to get on there, and it just wasn't efficient enough. So we ended up buying this roller dyno. It's been great for the low power stuff. Again, different computer. So in Australia, not many people play with Mega Squirt. It's something different, and that's what we specialise in, doing different things. So a lot of people with this cars end up going to a 440 big block or a 360. This guy's had all these combinations, pulled the big block back out, put the late model Hemi motor in, because now he's had enough. He wants a refinement. He wants this thing to start cold, idle, crisp, cruise beautifully. Something that the old carbureted donk wouldn't do.
No.
And the power will probably be similar to the big block, you know.
Yeah,
so
Chrysler, old school Chrysler engines are quite expensive to build.
Very expensive. The parts are worth mega money.
Yeah.
So especially now with the small blocks, the R blocks, you can't get them anymore. Pro stock guys are struggling with that. Whereas this is a crate motor, straight out in.
Yeah.
You can get wiring harnesses from Mega Squirt that go straight on. It's actually a really cool conversion, and you get the thing running like a brand new 300C.
Yeah, when you go to the States, like SEMA and that, Mopar sell everything.
Yeah, Mopar performance is huge.
Yeah.
It's a massive thing. This is extremely, like, this conversion, they use it a lot. Like,
you don't see that much of this sort of stuff in Australia.
Not in Australia. In America, it happens a lot, but
with
the early Dodgers.
So this is where you do all the bigger power stuff.
Yeah, this is our hub dyno room.
Nice dyno room, mate.
Thanks, mate. So yeah, we can do up to 2,000 horsepower on this. You can move them wherever you want. It's pretty easy to bolt cars on this particular one. Works great. This is like an absolute game changer. The beauty with the hub dyno, especially the Dynotech ones, you can do pull after pull after pull. The graphs just draw all over each other. Example with a circuit car, it's very consistent, dog box and all that. We can see 2 degrees timing easy. You can, anything you do, or any little hiccup shows up on the graph. With a roller dyno, you've got tyres absorbing that, so you don't see the little hiccups as much. It has to be a big hiccup to see it. So all the high-end stuff we do on here, it's just a lot more accurate and repeatable.
You've got a pretty cool extraction system in here too.
Yeah, so it all gets sucked up through here, straight out the back. Over 30,000 CFM, works really well. Especially when you're running methanol and exotic fuels, you don't want to be in here sniffing that stuff.
No.
Large fan, again, another 30,000 CFM blowing in the front of the car. We've designed that fan to blow around the oil coolers as well on the side of some of these circuit cars.
Oh yeah, so this is all custom made.
Yeah. So everything's been designed for a purpose. You know, and the more and more cars you do, and I guess I'm going to change the design again. We'll be changing things all the time just to make things better and more consistent.
I've been here a few times, mate. I've noticed you've got a pretty trick fuel injector system. How did this all come about?
Yeah, so it pretty much started back in my garage. We bought our race cars. You know, we started doing some maintenance to them, realised that our injectors weren't flowing what they were meant to and things like that. And yeah, we went around to all these so-called injector test companies, and some of the benches were just laughable what they were testing our stuff on. Not only they had the wrong drivers, they had to have very small tubes, extremely small fuel pumps. So it was like, you know what, I think I'm going to engineer something myself. I love tinkering in the garage, so we've come up, I designed this bench. It's quite simple really, but I won't talk about what things we do to keep it accurate, but it works quite well. We've got the latest Haltech computer controlling it. We machined all these plate up, we can pressurize it, can run it in vacuum. We've got a mechanical fuel pump. We can do up to 800-pound injectors on it.
Wow, 800
which is
pounds.
huge.
That's
yeah,
massive.
That pretty much fills the whole tube in 15 seconds. So
you wouldn't be able to test those huge injectors on those small...
No, you will do one pulse and the tube's full.
Yeah.
we're talking like, tubes this big and this tall. These tubes are 2 litres each, so we've got heaps in here. And the good thing with our setup, being mechanical pump, it's simulated, exactly how it is in the car. We run a large fuel rail, dash 12, a lot of fuel flow in it. And when I built it, the amount of inconsistencies and the amount of theories we debunked was astonishing. Coming from computers that can't drive injectors properly, from incorrect pressures running them, injectors locking up, from poorly made injectors that are constantly leaking. It opened up a whole world of, wow, what's going on here? So after building this has been great. With all the race teams now in Australia, well, a lot of them, drag race guys, send their billet atomizers here and all the large injectors, Siemens and so forth. And we can give them repeatable results. We've got within 1% accuracy on here. So it's amazing. It's really complemented our business, and we have faith in our tunes now, because before we tune a car, we put our injectors on here. This is every car we tune. They go on here. We populate our dead time tables. So the tune does not change whether you're at 10 volts or 16. And we know that we're not going to have a bad cylinder because one injector's down. So we always confirm that. And I'll tell you what, 50% of the times, the injectors need either a freshen up or replacement. So it goes to show you how many tuners are tuning out there with done injectors to begin with. Not here. We have faith.
It wasn't something I really thought about until I started seeing some of the inaccuracies.
And
because you're paying good money
100%
for a set of new injectors.
Example.
You just assume they're all going to be the same.
So here, as you can see, we've got a batch of Siemens here. We have to buy minimum 100 at a time because we've got up to 8% variance in some of those.
That's a lot when you're talking a large injector.
24, 33, it's a lot of CCs there. The same here with the 1600s from Bosch Motorsport. These injectors cannot be purchased unless you can flow them correctly. There are some other guys claiming flow matched. I challenge them to show me their technique and bench, because I know they can't. There's only another couple companies in America that can. So everything gets tested. And again, these here are within around 7% from Bosch. We don't let them out the door unless they're in the 1% range. To do that, you need to buy bulk, because it's all about sorting and data acquisition with these. And so it makes a massive difference. Now we sell the product. We've got confidence in the product. You get a flow sheet with these sheets. We keep all these. These get stored. Customer's name with the injector details on it. If there's ever a drama, we refer back to our sheets. If the injectors come back in, we can put them back on the bench, and we know if anything's changed since we sold them. So it's great. You can't tune without one.
All right, so I know a bit of your history, mate, but why don't you tell some of our viewers about how Quickbitz and all this came about? How did you get into cars?
Well, you're like one of the lucky ones, Luke. You were there from the very start, mate. It's always supported me, and it's actually, you're one of the people we have to thank, because a lot of people won't know who I am if it wasn't for the great boys at Fullboost putting all these videos of our street cars back in the day. Started off tinkering in the garage with the old man's Merc. We turbocharged that, and that was back in 1997. I was too young to play with cars then, but the old man took it to AVO. Terry Wilson turbocharged it. And then in a couple of years into high school and stuff, I started tinkering then I took over the project. I always loved electronics, always played with them as a kid. I used to install car stereos for slabs of beer at high school. And then, next thing you know, car stereos, EFI, fast cars, they're all the same. There's wires, there's fuel, there's noise, there's power. I got more involved with it. We ended up turbocharging our Ute, which was a Hilux long wheelbase with a canopy at the back. We put a SR20 in that after the original motor conked out. So that went on for a few years, a few engine blow-ups later, me learning what to do and what not to do. Eventually we ended up putting that engine in a Toyota Corolla. That's when I started going fast. People started recognizing me.
I remember you told me you'd like to run a 7 in that car, and I was thinking, is he all right? 7? That's not going to run a 7.
Yeah, so that was the goal.
I hate those words.
Yeah. Well, for years we were running in the 8s with a C10 transmission, and the car was so violent, and we were wrecking gearboxes. And I done something stupid. My mate goes to me, I think it was actually Michael Baghdadi. He's like, "Bro, put a power glide in it," and we did. And gun barrel, first pass 7.9, second pass 7.8. Put the car up for sale. I'd done what I wanted to do.
Is the car still around?
The car's in around. It's up in Sydney at the moment, so they'll probably race it in the next year or so.
Still the same as it was?
Still the same, has not changed one bit.
Yeah.
So we're trying to bring it back into the family. We'll see. But yeah, after I sold that, I moved on to bigger and better things. That's how I ended up with this thing. My knowledge and experience grew. During that period, before I got this car, I started crew chiefing on a Pro Stock car for Bill Cotzius. We were the first people to run on a cast-headed small block Chev, so I went 698 over 195 mile. And that was 5 years ago. There's a lot of Pro Stock cars still struggling to run it now with billet heads. So yeah, we went quite fast, and I learned a lot about chassis, suspension, and proper professional racing. And that's where Quickbitz has started taking off as more of a proper brand. Before we were doing it on the side, selling bits and pieces, but then it just, we got professional. We started making a real business off it. We got dynos, we got race cars, and now people want us to play with their stuff purely because of our track experience. And we break our own cars testing. Not like other tuners that don't even own their own car.
Yeah, you're not afraid to lean on the parts, are you?
We'll break our own stuff just to learn what you can and can't do. We've broken that too, Jay, many times. I haven't broken this because it's too big to break, but we've pushed it and we know what the limits are. Saying that, when we get customer cars, that's all in here. We know where not to go. So I'm guessing that's why we get a lot of these cars, just because we have that experience behind us.